Hello, everyone, and welcome to OST Live, a weekly broadcast on blockchain, branded tokens, and token economies, where we feature weekly guests to discuss the latest in blockchain and the current projects that they are working on. And with us today, we have Aidan Hyman. He is the co-founder and CEO at ChainSafe Systems, and he is also a contributor to an open source project called the Görli Testnet, which is the topic of today's discussion. But before we get into what Görli is all about, let me introduce Aidan. Aidan, thank you for joining us on OST Live.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Jose.
So before we get to discussing testnets and Görli, maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am co-founder and CEO of ChainSafe, as you said. We mostly work on Ethereum-related research and development. Currently, a couple of the exciting projects we're working on, Görli being one of them, the Lodestar chain, which is a JavaScript implementation of the Beacon chain, as well as just a couple of little things here and there that we work on. Yeah,
Great. So how long has ChainSafe Systems been around?
we've been around for almost 2 years now.
Nice. So we'll get into, I guess we'll introduce Görli. Maybe you can tell us about sort of the history of Görli, like where who's working on it, and like who got together and decided to start this project. Obviously, you guys presented it at ETH Berlin, so maybe you can tell us a little bit about the origins of where Görli started.
Yeah, absolutely. So it started as a hackathon project, started by our team and Afri Shoden. And basically, the idea at the time was to attempt to implement authority round, which is Parity's proof of authority consensus mechanism, into Geth, which is a client written in Go. We had a lot of trouble with it, and since then decided to kind of do the opposite, which was implementing Clique, which is the proof of authority consensus mechanism in Geth, into Parity. And so we've been very fortunate to have extremely excited contributors from outside of our team. Two of them I'd like to mention especially is Jared Wassinger and Yukon Sun, who are both implementing Clique into Parity Ethereum.
Great. So what would be, I guess, the basic definition of the Görli testnet? Is it a proof of authority uh, testnet?
Yeah, so as we began at the time, kind of the idea was to create a cross-client proof of authority testnet where multiple different clients are able to be validators for this proof of authority testnet.
Great. So maybe we can talk about the current testnets that exist today. Is there no testnet today that is cross-client?
So at the time there was not. Now Clique, which is basically what Görli is a fork of. So right now, yeah, so Clique is available in a couple clients, but at the time it was not. So I can go through the different test nets, but basically the three big ones in Ethereum are Ropsten, Kovan, and Rinkeby. Ropsten being a proof of work testnet, meaning that real people are actively mining it with hardware. And so this brings up a series of issues with reliability, as well as just consistency. This mainly has to do with the unreliability of a proof of work test network that doesn't have any financial incentives involved. So then, to kind of alleviate the pressure and to create a more consistent testnet, teams at Parity Ethereum and at Geth each created their own proof of authority consensus mechanisms, which by having trusted validators being the ones who are confirming blocks, we're able to effectively create a more stable and consistent testnet for developers.
Great. So there is so is there still mining involved with proof of authority?
No. So, I mean, depending on what you consider the idea of mining, but no, in this case, it would be a trusted group of validators who kind of get picked randomly, or not randomly, they just get picked to be the ones to finalize a block.
Great. And another issue with that proof of work in a system that doesn't have financial incentives is that anybody can sort of overtake the network via 51% attack. So is that sort of solved for in a proof of authority system?
Absolutely. So by solved, it doesn't mean that it's impossible, but in this case, you're well aware of who those validators are and who the people are. And so because we're required to have some kind of validation by trusted people, we're able to ensure that we're not kind of reliant on just altruistic kind of endeavors by these proof of work miners. And instead, we're doing it for ourselves as developers who need consistent and active testnets.
Great. So would Rinkeby be the closest test nets that Görli can be compared to?
Absolutely. So we have forked Clique, which is the consensus mechanism used in Geth. And so Rinkeby is the testnet named for that. And yeah, so we basically, our job has been to implement Clique into a multitude of clients. And the reason we do not just have people kind of connecting to Rinkeby and instead have created a new one is because we see a need for the community to step up and really take ownership and responsibility for something that is such a low-hanging fruit like a testnet, and really trying to alleviate the pressures from core developers to not have to concern themselves with something like a testnet. That and certain features, for example, PWASM, parity WASM, allows for smart contracts to be deployed onto Covin written in Rust. And so these testnets have underlying different features that they are testing. And so we decided to create a new testnet that allows for kind of a more standardized set of features that all clients can commit to.
Great. Something that just came to mind, or I lost the train of thought, but something I was also going to ask about is with fauceting and getting test coins for the network. Does it work in a different way than what people are used to in like a Rinkeby testnet?
Totally. So eventually we're going to have a regular faucet when our testnet is kind of live. We're calling it right now a pre-testnet. So what we're doing is allowing for developers to trade any testnet ETH for Goth, which is our testnet ETH. And the way we're doing that is by utilizing a bridge that one of my colleagues, Elizabeth, wrote. You can look her up on GitHub @Newt. And basically what this bridge allows is for testnet ETH on one testnet to be deposited into a contract, and then for Görli ETH to be withdrawn on another contract on our testnet. And so right now there's a UI that allows for people to do it without needing kind of to interact with the terminal, which another one of my colleagues, Chris, at CF Development, he made that. And so we're really excited about kind of a future where people will be able to potentially come to a website and trade any testnet ETH for any testnet ETH in a very easy way.
Great, that's very cool. I'll maybe you can send me the link, and then I'll link it afterwards in the description below. So is this
Great.
live? Is this live today? Can anybody get coins via that the site today? And
Absolutely. So you can go to gorley.com /bridge if you want the bridge, but gorley.com and just click the bridge tab on the left. And you can actively trade Coven, Ropsten, and Rinkby ETH for Görli ETH. And this utilizes an open source bridge that we've built. As I was mentioning, my colleague Elizabeth primarily wrote it, and it's all available on GitHub. And yeah, it's written in Go, and so it's extremely developer friendly. Yeah, so anyone can use it and anyone can implement it into their applications as needed.
great, and I'll also link that down below. Towards the end, we'll probably we'll discuss how anybody can contribute if they want to contribute. But I want to go back. You mentioned, or you call it a pre-testnet version 0.2. So what are some of the are you undergoing any current challenges with Görli? What are sort of the next steps towards development on Görli?
Absolutely. So a main thing we're waiting for uh, before kind of calling it a real testnet is having Clique be pushed and merged upstream into parity. And that's been an incredible effort taken on by Yukong and also at the Fallen Tree and Jared, which is at Jay Wassinger. And they've been kind of working at this for over almost 2 months now, I think. And so that's really what we're waiting for. And it's, an incredible contribution to the ecosystem, regardless of Görli, for them to be doing this work. And so we're really thankful for that.
Great,
Yeah,
yeah, and
we're really.
maybe we can mention the people involved if you want to sort of shout out like anybody who's involved in the project. It is a group of people from a variety of different companies, right? We have Parity has been a big help.
Yeah, so I mean, when we talked about this at ETH Singapore, I was shocked to see that, there were over 25 people to thank. So I'm most definitely going to forget some people, and I apologize to those people in advance. But first and foremost, I'd like to thank MP, Maria Paula Fernandez, for allowing us to even consider doing something like this at ETH Berlin, and also through the Department of Decentralization, backing everything we're doing. So I really would like to thank her. I'd like to thank the ETC Cooperative and everything they've done to make sure that that this project is funded. Specifically, Anthony from there has been our contact. Of course, I have to thank my partner in crime, Afri Shoden, who's release manager at Parity and has really taken this upon himself to make sure that Ethereum is a lot more accessible to developers. And so he's been kind of the lead for everything Görli. And then, of course, from our team, Greg, Priam, Elizabeth, and Chris, as I mentioned, Dustin and Tim are working on implementing Clique into a couple other clients. And yeah, it's been a tremendous effort by a lot of different people. And I have to mention again, Yukong and Jared, who are doing incredible work right now as we speak, trying to implement Clique into Parity. Well, not trying, they're doing it.
Great, and thanks to MP again for connecting us to do this interview. And for those of you that are watching this live, if you have any questions about Görli or any of the testnets, feel free to add them in the chat. It'll be on the side or down below if you're on mobile. But one thing I did want to talk about is the clients. So is Görli compatible with Geth and Parity? What will it take to sort of get all of the other clients compatible with Görli?
So right now, and just to thank all of these different teams, it's compatible in Geth. So thank you to Peter from the Geth team. It's compatible very experimentally in Parity. So we're working on kind of bringing it up to kind of what you would call kind of equal to it being implemented in Geth. And yeah, we're currently implemented in Pantheon. So thank you to the Pantheon team, and Nethermind. So thank you to them, as well as Ethereum JS most recently.
Great. That's great to hear that you have all those, and especially the most recent ones. It's great to hear that you're adding more clients. But what do you believe, or what do you think it will take to sort of get Görli adoption, like for developers to use Görli? What's sort of the next step to have Görli adopted in, like to see it like on Etherscan or MetaMask? So what do you see like the future of Görli, and what are sort of next steps?
So someone I forgot to mention, but thank you to the PoA team for implementing an instance of Block Scout, which is an incredible open source block explorer that supports Görli. We're very thankful to already have some of that tooling in place because of teams like that. So really for us, it's about making sure that we're merged upstream into parity and ensuring that there will be reliability for the testnet from a Geth and parity perspective, as well as allowing for other clients to join as well to make sure that anyone can use this network. But really the things that we're waiting for are kind of that upstream merge. Because other than that, we basically have all the tooling in place thanks to an incredible community. So we're not really we're necessarily reliant on some of the more well-known players. We're thankful to have Infura and EG specifically support us. And so we'll be available in Infura as soon as we're live. So yeah, I mean, it's just a few little things that are required to really allow for us to provide that that certain test net that is reliable.
Great. Do you guys have a sort of a timeline yet on when you guys will get sort of to version 1 or the testnet status?
Totally. So at the moment we're kind of aiming for and around Christmas/New Year to be able to start kind of getting a few of those things finalized. So then hopefully within the next month or two, they'll be ready to be merged upstream. But, as a lot of this has happened, we're not necessarily beholden to certain expectations, because obviously we've seen every time we have an expectation, we get incredible support from the community. And so I think the expectations we had for ourselves for this time of year is nowhere near where we've gotten so far. So we're super excited to have these expectations to kind of hold ourselves to, but also to be cognizant that not to hold ourselves to too much.
Great. That's great to hear, and also great to hear that so many individuals are participating and contributing. So I guess we'll end with, how can either developers or anybody watching this contribute to Görli?
Yeah, so right now you can join our Gitter. So Gitter, I'll send you the link if you could add that to the description as well, please.
Yeah, definitely.
So we have a Gitter, and then if you're a developer, we have our project and all of our tasks laid out on GitHub. You can check it out at github.com/Görli/testnet, and you can click the project tab, and you can see everything we're working on, everything people are working on, everything we've done. You can even see kind of what we worked on at the hackathon. It's all live, and it's all available for anyone to see. And so if you are interested in doing something, please reach out to us on our Gitter and start the conversation. Because that's how this all started, just by kind of starting a conversation and kind of bringing attention to something that a lot of people, I think, take for granted, which, is a testnet.
Great, and I'll definitely add those links shortly after this call. And thank you for all of you that are watching this live. We're going to have a recap posted later today. And for those of you that are new to OST, OST is a blockchain platform that allows businesses to launch their own branded tokens. And we host this podcast, OST Live, to discuss the latest in blockchain with people from the industry. And later today at 4 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. New York time, 10 p.m. Berlin time, we're going to be having Mark Bonchek. He's the CEO of Shift Thinking, and he's going to be discussing branded currencies. So be sure to come back for that. But Aidan, it's a pleasure having you, and it's a pleasure introducing sort of new projects that people are working on, and hope this has gained momentum, and I hope that the momentum continues with Görli. But thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you creating this space for us to talk about the exciting things we're working on. So thank you everyone for listening, and yeah, please check out our Gitter and reach out if you have any questions or want to contribute.
Great, and thanks again everyone for listening. You'll see those links down in the description down below shortly. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.